Hello my wonderful friends, welcome if you're new and welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Sarzana and today we are going to be wrapping up June and I'm going to talk about all of the 16 books that I read. I was very anxiety ridden, so I think I just hyperventilated and just read all the books I could get my hands on. So let's just get right into it. I have no rhyme or reason of the way that I'm going to be picking these books up. They're literally like in a big pile over here, so I'm just gonna pick them up and we're gonna talk about them. So I read Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson. It's like a short little novella and she's so tiny. Can we just appreciate how adorable she is? So this book is about Lift and we do meet her in the Stormlight Archives, and I think I was supposed to read this in between Rhythm of War and Oathbringer so it would make more sense. However, now that I've read this, a lot of things make more sense because I was a little clueless in Oathbringer. So it is definitely a nice novella in between those two chunky books. I gave this a 4 stars. It was great. I started to fall in love with Lift as I was reading more of this. I can't really go too far into it, but this is about Lift and her powers. She is growing into her powers and we just learn more about her. And I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't want to give anything away. But if you're reading Stormlight Archives, please don't skip this over because it will make a lot of things make a little bit more sense. And I read Horiyama. This is by Hiro Daisuke Hagewara. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna call him Hiro, but this is by Hiro and it's about Kyoko and Izumi. They both are in the same class and it's a typical in-school manga romance and I love those. They're like one of my favorites, and yeah, so that's basically all the fields. They are both in the same class. Kyoko has a little brother that she takes care of because her mom works a lot and is away a lot of the time, so it's just her and her little brother. And Izumi, he helps her out one day when her brother had some kind of an accident or something like that. I can't remember right now, but something had happened and he helped her brother out and brought him home, and they were both kind of like, oh hey, I know you. And then that's where their friendship basically blossomed. When they were in school, they didn't really talk to each other very much because Izumi is more to himself and he doesn't really speak to a lot of people. Kyoko couldn't recognize him because he has all these tattoos and piercings and he doesn't show any of that when he's in school. So she's like, oh, this is how you really are. And in school, Kyoko is like makeup, hair, everything is done and looking pristine. However, when she's in school, she has like a mom bun, she's wearing sweatpants and loose clothes, and they both are surprised to see each other and they're surprised to see how they're both very different from what they are like in school, and they just become closer and closer, and Kyoko starts to have feelings for Izumi and Izumi has feelings for her, but he doesn't really say anything yet, and that's kind of it. I really want to pick up the rest of this series because it's so good. I read this in like an hour and it was just everything that I needed. I needed a palette cleanser this month and in between books, and it was really nice. I gave this a 5 star. I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time, and yeah. Heaven and I went to Barnes & Noble's last week and I wanted to see which book I wanted to get, and I read a chapter of a book to see if I really liked it or not. I've been eyeing this book, like we've been making eye contact every time I'm at the bookstore, but I'm just like, I'll get you later, I'll get you another time. But then that day I was just like, I'm gonna read just one chapter. Let me see if I like you or not. Let me see if you're good enough for me to bring you home. So I brought her home and it's Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This was my first Anna Huang book. I have her new series, like the Sin series, where it's like King of Pride, King of Greed or whatever. I wanted to read the Twisted series first before I jumped into those. I think there's characters from this book in the King series. So I wanted to read this and I read a chapter and I was like, oh shit, like I am really intrigued. So this book is about Ava and Alex. Ava is sunshine, Alex is grumpy, and he is a total bad boy. He is like a billionaire. Ava is someone who is a college student. She is majoring in photography. Her parents don't support her ambition and her career path, so they are not supporting her financially getting her degree. So she's working and putting herself through school and working here and there so she can be financially stable and pay for everything herself. Ava is the light in Alex's life. She like brings him back to life basically. Alex has gone through something very, very traumatic, and so has Ava, and they both heal together. And Alex is very protective over Ava. Ava is Alex's best friend's sister. So we have brother's best friend here. Ava's brother goes away for a year and his apartment is free, which is right next to Ava's. So Alex moves in, and you can imagine the things that happen. Alex promised Ava's brother that he was going to take care of her while he was away, and things just kind of blossom from there. And it was a really, really quick read. It was really fun. I really enjoyed myself, and I hope I like the other books as much as I like this one. I've heard a lot of people say that they didn't like Twisted Games, I think. I want to read it for myself and see how I feel about it. I really love this book, so I give this a 5-star. And then next, I finished the rest of the Chestnut Spring series. I read the first 2 over the past few months, and then in June, I just picked the rest of them up. So Powerless is about Jasper and Sloane. Sloane is a ballerina, and Jasper is a hockey player, and they are like the cutest friends to lover couple ever. And you guys know I love Elsie Silver's writing, and this just gave everything that I needed. It was easy, it was fluffy, and it was just a good old time. This was a solid 4-star for me. It just didn't feel like a 5-star, so I couldn't give it a 5-star, but it was still really good, really enjoyable. I would probably reread it in the future. It was just that good. All of the Chestnut Spring books are that good. And then I picked up Reckless. Reckless is about Theo and Winter. Theo is Rhett from the first book, his student. Rhett took Theo under his wing after Theo's dad passed away. You learn that from the first book, from Flawless. And Theo, he is a bull rider, and Winter, she is a doctor. And yes, I know, so cute. And they have a one-night stand, and from that they have a surprise pregnancy, and some things happen, and Theo doesn't find out about their child until a couple of months later. And from there, they both try their best to be good parents to their child, and their feelings, it just evolves from there, and it is just so beautiful, and it was so well done. This accidental pregnancy trope is not for everyone, I know, but for me, I personally really, really enjoyed it. I gave this a 5-star. There's nothing that I disliked about it. I ate this book up from page 1 to 440. It was so good. And then lastly, I read Hopeless, and this is about Bo and Bailey. Bo is ex-army and Bailey is a bartender. They make a bet where they pretend to be engaged. This is so that Bailey's reputation can mend, because Bo is like the Prince Charming of their little Chestnut Springs town. And from that little bet, things get a little heated between the two, and he becomes her savior, and she grows into her full self. And it's just a really beautiful story about healing, about growth, and so much more. And I was really sad when I read this book. I really loved every single one of these characters. I didn't want to separate from these characters. I love them so, so much. So it was really hard to let them go. This book, I did give this a 4 stars, but there's nothing wrong with it. Again, it just didn't give me 5-star feelings. I'm just really sad to see my favorite characters go. It was really good. I also read Escaping from Houdini by Carrie Maniscalco. This is in the Jack the Ripper series. This is the 3rd book, and I'm slowly making my way through this series. This was a a Houdini mystery. There was a boat carnival that Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell were on, and there were murders that were happening on the ship, and they were trying to figure out who was murdering whom. We get sort of a third player in this, so it rocks the boat between Audrey and Thomas a little bit. I was kind of holding on to the edge of my seat a little bit because I really love Audrey and Thomas together, and I did want them to end up together, and the way things were going, I was getting very nervous for a bit, but I thoroughly did enjoy this. It was a simple YA, a quick read. It keeps you interested because of all of the mystery, and overall it was just a lot of fun. I gave this 4 stars and would definitely read this again. Next, I read Local Woman Missing. I was a little disappointed by this book. This book is basically, the name kind of says it all. This book is about women that went missing, and we dive into the reasons for how they went missing, why they went missing, and everything just kind of wraps up nicely towards the end where it does make sense. However, I felt like there was just too much happening. A simple storyline can go a long way if you tell it right, and I was just a little bit disappointed by the execution of this book. I'm glad I read this because I had this on my TBR for a while and I heard good things about it, and the mystery aspect of it was pretty decent, but I still stand by the fact that there was just way too much going on in here. It just kind of convoluted the whole thing, but it wasn't bad. I gave this 3 stars. Next, I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I think that's how you say the last name. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering it. You guys know I can't say names right. But this book is about a woman that is silent, and supposedly she murdered her own husband. And the twist that happens at the end of this book, I was just kind of like, what? Like, it makes sense, but at the same time, it's kind of insane. The 2 POVs that we have, Alyssa, our silent patient, and Theo, her psychotherapist. And Theo, he knows about Alyssa's condition, and he went to the Grove, is where she is being held at a psychiatric facility, to go and help her. The way their storylines intertwine was done pretty well, but I was also a little disappointed by some of the storytelling because a lot of it I was kind of falling asleep throughout, and a lot of the parts I just kind of found boring, so I gave this a 3 star. And then I tried to read We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal, and I feel like this is from like a 3rd person POV, and I DNF'd it. How far was I in? I made it to 141 pages through to chapter 19, and I was just kind of like, I am so bored and I have no idea what's going on. So I just did like a soft DNF. Maybe I will come back to it at another point in time, but for right now, I'm not really interested. All I understood was that Zafira is one of our main characters. She is a huntress or hunter, and Nasir, he is the prince. He is basically an assassin, and that's kind of all I got from that. And everything else just kind of went in one ear and went out the other, unfortunately. So I DNF'd this. And then I read The Mysterious Disappearance of Mr. Darcy, and it was a quick historical mystery. So Elizabeth is Mr. Darcy's wife. Mr. Darcy goes missing. We read this through Elizabeth's point of view for the entirety of the book. She is a strong woman in that time period, and she takes care of her household, which isn't something that women are supposed to be doing at that point in time. She takes care of the household. She deals with all of the rumors that come at her, and this really tests Darcy and Elizabeth's relationship. And the way it wraps up is interesting, but honestly, I was pretty bored through most of it. So I did give it 3 stars. It wasn't awful, but it definitely isn't something that I would recommend to a lot of people. If you do enjoy historical mysteries, I would definitely check it out. It is by an indie author as well, and I am a big fan of supporting indie authors. And then I read Murder So Sinful by Eileen Curley Hammond. I DNF'd it. It was really boring. So I had like 3 DNFs last month, but you know, that's totally fine. I can't tell you what the story is about because I don't remember it. All I remember is that it was about a single mom and there was some kind of a murder that had happened, and that's kind of it. Yeah, it was really boring. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't connect with the characters. The storyline didn't do it for me. I just couldn't get into it. Well, I DNF'd it. And I also read the Lord's trilogy. So, whew, when I tell you that this was dark, this was freaking dark. I did a vlog while I was reading these, so if you guys want to listen to a more in-depth review, then go ahead and check that out. I'll put that link up here somewhere. But this series, oh my goodness, you guys, it is so spicy, and some of the scenes, I'm just like, I'm questioning myself for why I like this, but at the same time I'm just like, this is so interesting, I can't put this down. And there was literally some kind of drugs in these books because I inhaled every single one of these. I think I've read these in like a week, and these books are not thin, they're freaking chunky. They're like at least 500 pages each, so I'm very proud of myself for reading these. So we have The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. This is the first book in the Lord series. This is about Riot and Blakely. Riot is a lord and Blakely is his chosen. This is about Riot basically owning Blakely, and Blakely, she fights it at first, but then things happen and they end up falling in love. It's a lot of craziness, a lot of madness. Riot is very protective over her, and basically the lords are assassins. When they're in college and they're a lord, they don't even have to go to school to pass. They can go into any career path that they choose if they're a lord, basically. And they're like a secret organization. It's kind of culty. There is a lot of degradation of women in this book and in the entirety of the series, so just check your trigger warnings before you get into this. However, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a 5-star. Then next I read The Sinner. This is my absolute favorite out of the entirety of the series so far. This is about Sin and Ellie. They're kind of like friends to lovers in a way, but he's also a lord. Sin, he has a chosen who he doesn't choose, and he chooses Ellie, and a lot of things happen throughout the entirety of this book. But what I'm gonna tell you is that Ellie's past is really fucked up. There's a lot of messed up things that happen to her, and she does a lot of healing. And Sin, in a way, in his way, he helps her heal. Ellie has always had a crush on Sin. There's a lot of things that go on in here that, again, please don't read without reading the trigger warnings, because there's a lot of non-consensual stuff that happens in here, and a lot of on-page non-con, and a lot of other trigger warnings that I feel like I shouldn't say on camera, but please do check it out, be careful, and enjoy. I gave this a 5-star because it was just absolutely beautifully done. I really love Chantal Tessier's writing and the way she brings some of these things into these pages. Then I read The Sacrifice. This book is about Tyson and Lakin. Tyson, he owns Blackout. Basically, something happened in his past where the lords wronged him, so they gave him Blackout, which is like a nightclub, and he does all kinds of carnage there. And basically his deal with the lords was that he gets to pick his own wife. They can't tell him who to marry, he gets to choose, and he ends up choosing Lakin, who is his chosen's little sister. The stuff that goes on in here is absolutely insane, fucking bonkers. However, I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of messed up things that happen that these men are trying to untangle their girls from and themselves from. It is just absolute freaking chaos. I had a really good time reading this too. I gave this a 4 stars though because I started to get really tired of the degradation. It just started to get to be a little too much at some point. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do recommend this to my dark romance girlies. And then you guys, we're gonna end this with like a banger, okay? I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Yes, I finally read this book, and five stars. So good. I feel a little slumpy after reading it. There are other books that I'm trying to read to get over my little slump, like my mini slump. I'm sure most of you know what this book is about. This book is about dragon riders, people that go to Beskaya, a school where dragon riders are trained. Dragons and humans bond. That means they form some kind of a friendship where the riders get magical powers, and it's just absolutely insane. A lot of the things that happen in this book had me at the edge of my seat. I love the relationship between our characters and their dragons. I absolutely love Xaden and Violet, our main characters, our two lovebirds. They're my top 3 couples in Fanro. Absolutely my top 3. Xaden is protective over Violet, but he also wants her to grow into her own. Violet is very physically fragile, but she is brilliant. She was meant to be a scribe, but her mom threw her into Beskaya so she could become a dragon rider. Violet discovers so many things politically and about her family, and she grows and develops in this book in such a beautiful way, and I had the absolute best time reading this book. I can't wait to read Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. I'm trying to wait out until we get to a closer release date for Onyx Storm before I pick up Iron Flame, but oh my goodness, absolutely a must read if you're a Fanro girly. And that is the 16 books that I read in the month of June. I had a great reading month. I don't remember the last time I read that many books in one month, so I was definitely having a lot of anxiety last month. But my books helped me out and they helped me escape. I hope you guys had a wonderful reading month in June and continue to this month. If you read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. How did you feel reading any of them? And let me know down below in the comments what you are currently reading. I love you all so much. Thank you so much again for watching. If you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you will not miss any videos from me in the future. And until next time, my friends, bye.